Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Islamic Finance program, where we are discussing Islamic principles of money and finance. Just before we started recording this episode, you were discussing with our cameraman about some particular question.
Yeah.
Can you tell
Actually,
us
it was a question that raised between me and the cameraman, that what if someone borrowed the money, borrowed a gold, okay? Then he want to give it back to the same guy after three years. Shall he give it to the same amount of the 3 years or the estimation of the exact year?
So let's just first understand the problem. So there is a person A. He gave, let's say, one ounce of gold to the person B. Yeah? Now this person B does whatever he wants with this gold. And now, and this is in 2013, now we come to, for example, 2015. Okay? Now he has to purchase the gold from the market. Yeah? And it might be different price. So here maybe gold was, if you're looking at the dollar, today's gold is about $1,600, you know, $1,600 ounce, for example. And in the future, could be less, could be more. So, for example, in future it might be 2,000.
Or maybe less.
Or maybe less. Or that's right. Or it could be 1,000. Okay, so he has to purchase this and give him back. So what do you think? Is this something that is okay? Would there be riba in this? What do you think? What do you rest of you think?
I think so. I feel that according to how it looks, because I don't understand it really, because he's not giving him back what he took. So basically I feel that it has a scent of riba in it.
All right. What about the rest of you?
Well, I think that if person B borrow gold from person A, then the person B should give to return the same gold to the person A. I mean, if it's 1 ounce, then B have to return A 1 ounce.
What about you?
I think I'm with the Shafiq. I think that if the person A borrow the gold with 1 ounce, and the person B should return it back with the same.
So if he borrow here 1 ounce, he should return here 1 ounce. Should we look at the value of this gold in terms of this when we are returning or not?
Of course. I guess we have to.
Yeah.
We have to. No.
All right. Let's say if we were looking at that value, okay? If we were looking at this value, what would happen? Let's say I give someone 100 Egyptian pounds. I give them this today, and they're going to give that back to me in 1 month. If I compare it against the dollar, will it be the same?
No, it won't be.
Whenever you give something to someone now, and you ask them to return tomorrow or in the future, if you compare that something against anything in the world, the price will change. Okay? Now, because I gave 1 ounce of gold, when I'm returning same ounce of gold, I'm not having contract of riba there. I'm not getting anything extra. So I'm just getting back
what I gave.
All right? Now, me as the owner, whether it's go up or down, if I held the gold with me or it was with you, it would not make any difference to me. Okay, it would be 1,000 or 160 or this or that, it would be the same. Now, you took the risk when you took the gold. When you took that gold from me, you took the temporary ownership and entire risk that comes from price is going up and down. Now, this you have to think very carefully when you have, especially friends. I have seen family problems, friendship being destroyed because of this problem. People go and they took something. When the time came to return, the price was dramatically different. Dramatically different. And then they say, should I return what I borrowed or how much it was that time? No, you return what you borrowed. You can't say, but that time it was in this money, this much, or especially if you are sending overseas. I had a case, person sent $10,000 to the family member overseas. And it was in the currency A that he sent, and other party receiving currency B. Okay? So now, what did you borrow? Did you borrow 10,000 equivalent in your money, or at that time in this money?
A.
I don't know. You have to specify in your contract. I'm borrowing you 10,000 of this money after conversion, whatever you get. Or you say, I will convert it in your money and giving you this, what you receive. And that is the debt. Okay? Or you convert 5 and leave other 5 in other currency. But in the beginning, we have to be clear.
In the contract.
In the contract or between in our arrangement. But you should write down these things always. Although we know the words that talks about writing a debt, it was abrogated. But when you have a serious situation, it is very, very recommended that you reduce it to writing. So what is exactly the subject matter here that I'm giving you? This currency or debt? Because when this course changed, this person said, okay, I'll return you in this one. But this person said, no, I gave you that currency. So this creates friction, and it can lead to the huge loss. So if you are ever giving people money, which we say is a charitable act, make sure, for example, if you live in a country like where the currency is not very stable, if you give like a gold, that might have a very volatile nature, because gold is very safe, and you don't know will you be able to repay in the future. Look how the gold is tracking. It's going hundreds of percent. It's climbing. So it's better to, if you need to borrow, for example, or give money, to do it in your local currency. Don't. And also it is not permissible to say, I'll give you £100, which is equal to whatever gold. You can't benchmark that against the gold and say, this is how much in the gold it was, because you didn't give a gold. It's like as if you are selling him a gold that you don't have. Okay, so you either, if you want to do it in gold, you buy that gold and give it to him. But you can't say it is how much it was in whatever. All right? So here, he took the gold, he took the risk, he has to pay for it. Same would be if it went down. It would be less for him. So this is a charitable thing. Of course, a person had no intention, any of them, to profit from these things. Otherwise, if people are doing this to profit, then it could be seen as a gambling then.
How did, if someone asks you, if you explain to someone this and he asks you, where do you get your proof from? How do we prove that this has, it is proved in Islam that this is the way it works?
So we said when you give gold for gold, you must return the same. Okay, so let's say now, we gave this guy gold, 1 ounce of gold. And then he went to price change, so he took, let's say price was now 2,000. Okay, so he says, you know what? I'm just going to buy value of this new gold. So he goes by maybe 0.7%, of the ounce. Okay, and he returns that. He says, this is how much really? Now this would be riba. See, because one, what are you exchanging?
Money.
Prophet said, equal for equal, like to like. So now you are exchanging different amounts of gold. That is riba. Remember hadith of Bilal and so on. So this is what would be clearly haram then. So only way is to do that. Now what is beyond here, it's not your problem. It's not your problem here. How much he buys it, sells it, what he does with it. Same if he took a rice. Rice price might change. But he has to, you know, buy that rice from the market again and return you a kilo of rice. Isn't it? So it's not my problem. I give you a kilo of rice, you eat that rice, tomorrow you want to buy it double the price. Well, whose problem is that? It's not my problem. It's your problem.
I took the risk.
You took it. You have to. That's why it's we say this is a fungible items, can be replaced with each other. That is something that we are concerned. You know, that I'm getting something that I gave you. All right, that does it.
Can I give? If I give gold, can I return it back silver? The same amount?
Well, if you are giving him a gold and you have to return the gold, but on that moment, if you know you have a gold and then you exchange it on a spot for a silver and it is exactly the same, you know, and if there is no other real issue, you know, that we can see from this, okay, so idea is that that you want to make sure that you are repaying equal. So there is nothing that is there that could give rise to some surplus. So and we always want to see how is this done to ensure, is that really like a kind of like a cheating, you know? Are you doing some sort of dodgy deal or something like that? All right. Okay, let's see from the last time we were finishing one important aspect before we go into the Musharaka, and that was the issue of debt. You remember we said debt is something that is really can have catastrophic effects on people, on their mind. It's a source of worries, stress. The countries under debt, we see in Europe now, they are having so much debt. In fact, whether it's Greece or Italy, Portugal, Spain, the debt is much more than entire economy output, much more than 100% of GDP. Everything they produce, that is so much more. It is increasing. On top of that, you have within governments what they call deficit, which means government is taking less in revenue than what it needs to run a country. So they need to maintain hospitals, pay for public servants, do their thing. They have more expenses than what they're getting from the taxes. So that is increasing the debt. Look at the US. Every year maybe another trillion or so is added to the debt. So it's now 16 trillion. And it's growing. So we have, whether it's person or a country, if they come under debt, this usually have catastrophic effects. Okay? So we have been talking about it, and if we can get a board back, we were talking about Professor Salam, who was comparing debt as being detained in a prison. Okay? And he says that greatest sin is that man dies while he has debt due from him and he does not have anything to pay it off. So we know he, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, used to refuse to pray janazah for people who died while having debt and they didn't leave anybody to take care of it. So he would ask before he would pray, did he leave debt? Is there anybody to take care of? Did he leave any money, anything? So this is very important. We know Shaheed will forgiven everything except these obligations he has towards other people. This is something no one can forgive on your behalf. This is the right of other people. So it's a very, very important that when we talk about that, we understand. Because as so many narrations tell us, for example, it says that whoever dies free from three things, arrogance, cheating, and debt, will enter paradise. Umar used to say, beware of debt, for it starts with worry, ends with war. And scholars say it is a disgrace and humiliation. It preoccupies the mind and makes one worried about paying it off. So this is a big problem. And if we could have it on the screen, it would be good for everybody to see the reference. Now, in Islamic finance, we have seen this particular challenge being played because much of the instruments were creating lots of debt. And the major body, IOFI, that puts Sharia standards for Islamic finance institution, came with a very strong suggestion. And that is that Sharia board advisors in these Islamic institutions should really work very, very hard to decrease their involvement in debt-related operations and to increase through partnership based on profit and loss sharing in order to achieve those objectives of the Sharia. So even if sometimes something is halal, acceptable, like in this case, you see, is this acceptable debt? You give someone gold,
of course,
it's acceptable.
It's acceptable.
But to what extent? If I continue rely on this debt and take from people, and I put myself in the hard position maybe.
Yes, to repay.
Not only is it go jumping up and down, but I take so much debt, like these governments on the societies, that I just cannot repay it. I'm putting myself in a stressful position. So we want to decrease this debt in society. Therefore, when we do financing, we prefer any type of partnership arrangement rather than debt arrangement. And we will see what these two mean. So, okay, inshallah, I think just before the break, that will be it. And inshallah, after the break, we are going to continue our discussion on Musharaka.
Welcome to Tech Talk. I'm your host, Omar Shear. This season of Tech Talk, we will focus specifically on the internet.
A student would type their paper, and instead of handing me a hard copy of their paper, they would upload it to this learning system, this e-learning system.
I have some great experience when it comes to technology, and in particular, internet technology. Call to action is something that we do in our day-to-day lives, and maybe we don't realize it. Now we want to discuss, after you have a product and you have a website and you have a way to communicate with your customers, which would be your email marketing system, now it's time to take the money from the customer.
Welcome back. We are talking about Islamic finance, and this segment will be all about mode of financing known as Musharaka, or profit and loss sharing partnership. Okay, so just before the break, we said we prefer always partnership, profit and loss sharing together, mutual cooperation. This brings generosity, brings people together. And this is the primary mode of financing and doing anything in Islam in general. Because as we said, we want to avoid debt. Okay, so as a general rule, we said, whenever you finance something, so as a mode of financing, okay, we could have two. We said debt and equity. Okay, so the difference between these two, we were saying, is that debt is not profit and loss sharing, okay? And this equity is profit and loss sharing mode. What do we mean by this? What do we mean by this? Simply, whenever you have profit and loss sharing, no one owes anything to anyone. So if we go as a partner in business, I don't owe you anything, you don't owe me anything. We put our money together to do something. Whatever we get, alhamdulillah, we share. Here, I actually sold you a car, therefore you owe me the money. this is what we say, there is no profit and loss here. All risk I have is when I bought my car, which I had risk of like normal business, and credit risk, which is that you will not give me money back because you maybe default on your payment. So there is no profit and loss, if you wish. I mean, if you want to sell that car to someone else, you might sell it, you take profit or loss or whatever. I am not connected with that. So we have these two modes of financing. So today, we will mainly look at the equity side of profit and loss sharing, and the first one, Musharaka. Okay? When we talk about Musharaka, anyone know from which word we get Musharaka?
Sharaka.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And what it means?
Share.
To share. Both, it has to have two people involved.
Yes, that's right. And in English, we sometimes this translate as a joint venture. Or JV, they say JV. JV, or Musharaka. Okay? Sometimes they put H here or A, whatever, you know. We say it is the primary profit and loss sharing mode. How does this Musharaka is defined according to IOFI standard number 12, which talks about Musharaka? It says it is applicable to all forms of traditional FIC-nominated partnership that operate on the basis of Shirkatul Aqd, contractual partnership excluding ownership partnership, Shirkatul Milk. So all modern forms of partnership including diminishing Musharaka. Okay? So of course contractual partnership is any kind of partnership where we enter through some sort of contract, Aqd. So there is some sort of contract that puts us together. You could have a ownership type of partnership where we end up owning something without a contract, even without intention. How do we end up being partners without intention?
In case of finance?
In case of anything. Is it possible to be partners?
Of course. But
you can't think of it. For example, through inheritance. You inherit the building, so you own jointly this building.
Yes.
Okay, but we are not talking about this. We are talking about this now, contractual, where you actually purposely go into business to make a sort of profit, and you know there is a different kind of a feel to it. So Shirkatul Aqd, this typical Musharaka, defined by IOFI as contractual partnership where agreement is between two or more parties to combine their assets, labor or liabilities for the purpose of making profit. Okay, so we pool something together, and this of course goes to traditional partnership and modern corporations. So this same rule would apply. Now, let's see at the most basic level how this works. Okay, give us some example. Give us some example of a business.
Well, for example, someone has supermarket.
Okay.
And there is a person sharing with him the products.
Right.
I mean, he, for example, we have A and B. Both they have owned supermarket, and they share with us the profit and loss.
Right. Okay. So let's say first we are told, so it's a supermarket. So you could have two investors. One is investor A and investor B. Okay. These investors want to invest in this business, in some sort of business. It could be supermarket, it could be new Facebook. You know how they have this, what they call it, Salam book or something. Yes. This Muslim sort of halal version of Facebook. So you know, Muslim entrepreneur, somebody clever, you recognize it. Obviously, they don't have money, but they are smart enough to get somehow connection and the interest of the people, and to invest into this. By the way, there are very interesting ways to do this even amongst the youth. I don't know if you've seen this crowdsourcing sort of type of engagement where they advertise their idea, and then they get investors. So there is new things and the ways the youth is going about these things.
Yeah, they make like advertisement.
Yeah,
they
video.
ask people. Yeah,
That's right. They make advertisement. They ask you, I have this idea. You want to buy share in the business, and then they invest.
yeah.
Interesting things. I mean, we have to look at the details to see how Sharia compliant some of them are. But as a concept, it's something we can work with. Idea is to help these entrepreneurs who run the business. You know, and to help start something. Usually you don't have the money. And or if you have money, and that is mainly in Mudaraba, if you have money, you want to pool maybe few partners to make it a bigger thing. So that's why we have today we'll discuss Musharaka and Mudaraba, similar sort of profit and loss sharing ideas. So in this case, the partners have a capital. So they have a money, both of them. They want to run a business, and they are investing into that business as a partner. So one party might invest, let's say, $20 million. It could be 20,000, 200, 100, whatever. But for simplicity's sake, and to be realistic, you know, supermarket and stuff, another party investing 80 million, for example. Okay. Now, what is their share in this business?
80-20.
80-20. So 80-20. 80-20. Now, they put the capital. What are they going to do here with the money?
Invest.
So how they going to invest?
Running the product by for example, Gypsy.
So they buy some buildings.
The building, the place.
They parking. They hire staff. Okay, they hire manager. Yes.
Pay the taxes.
Taxes after a little bit. Wait, we didn't even start business. You want to pay taxes. And then what else?
The rent.
All of these things. All of these expenses that you have. Buy some inventory. Okay. And you start business. Now, this business can return profit or loss. Yes?
Yes.
So it goes back. And that's the thing with this partnership, profit and loss. So whenever, even after you pay your things and whatever, this profit and loss goes back to who? To the investors. Now, let's say you run a business, you invested maybe 80 million. But you don't want really too much involvement. Like you want to be like more like a sleeping partner. You just put the money, you know. And this guy here, he is really smart one. He will invest this plus some more time. And he has good experience in these matters. So he will be also into management and things like that. So in Islamic finance, it is allowed to negotiate profit. How much profit ratio is going to be. You could make a profit ratio to be, like we said, according to your capital contribution, which is 80-20. Or you might say, you know, but you have to do this in the beginning. Yes. You cannot do this after. You might say, because I'm involved more, we negotiate that you will get 70% of the profit and I will get 30%. To compensate me for extra involvement and so on. Yeah. So if there is a profit, we split it according to pre-agreed ratio at the start. So we have to, like we said before, in that meeting, conclude what is the profit and loss sharing when it comes to the surplus. How about if there is a loss? Can we negotiate and say, you know what, I'm a little bit risk averse, I don't want to, you know, you share 50% loss, I'll share 50. 50-50. Can we do that?
No.
We have already, because we said when we open the share, it's profit and loss sharing.
So by consensus of the Muslim scholars, it is not allowed to negotiate loss. it is always fixed according to capital contribution. So the loss here is always fixed. And it goes by this. How much you put initially. Fixed. So it is 80-20. Okay? So hope our viewers can see this a little bit on the angle here. Okay? So this is fixed. Because usually some of the wisdom is that a stronger party would intimidate other one and pass more losses. That would go against justice. In a profit, it's not a problem. It's incentive for somebody to learn and work, you know, and earn more. So maybe he work, and this 70 is more than 100% otherwise. So it is a proportion. It is something that can grow very, very quickly. Therefore, we see from this rule, to know the fixed ratio in case of the loss, this initial contribution in the beginning must always be clear. You cannot put something and say, I'm giving this in the partnership. Okay, you're giving this, what is that? Yeah. How much is the value of this thing? Why do we need to know exactly? Because of this. So when there is a loss, we know how much of the loss you are going to take.
I have a question.
Yes?
What if we agreed in the pre-agreement, we say that the profit that I'm going to get, we are going to share it, or the loss, we're going to share it 80-20. What if we said in the contract in the beginning that if I got more money than the expected, I will give it to you as like encouragement that you did well in the work?
If you put some sort of performance fees, again, depending, sometimes what happens with these matters sometimes is that they become features in the contract that starts to resemble interest in some way. You know, they usually, you will find, I say usually, not always, you can make it to be really incentive, so that there is some incentive and you give up something, and you know, but usually these things start smelling a little bit funny, because usually people do it for some other reason than true partnership and sharing. And they are not that willing to drop their part. So you have to be always careful, like you cannot now give generic answer, but what I have seen, especially when we have seen in 3 years ago, when Sheikh Taqi Usmani said about this sukuk that is built on this model, Musharaka, had some of these features. And the way they structured this was, at the end, was like interest bond. Because these people were even borrowing to make up a difference. And the way they were putting all of these things, and inside, we'll look at that a little bit when we talk about sukuk, was really was structured to be exactly like interest-based. So we don't want to do anything to this structure that will go against partnership. So inshallah, after the break, we will continue more discussing this issue.
Welcome to Hoda TV's newest breakthrough into the world of Islamic media and academics, Hoda Academy. With courses in Aqidah, Tafsir, Fiqh, Hadith and Arabic, and your most favorite Hoda TV scholars, Hoda Academy is your chance to enrich your mind and heart. Prices are affordable, the knowledge is authentic, the scholars are real, and the location is your home. Since Hoda TV's inception and the dream of Hoda Academy has been on our minds, after years of hard work, the dream is now here. Just like Hoda TV, Hoda Academy is a non-profit project, and your tuition fees go straight back into developing more courses. Knowing the basics of Islam is an obligation. But in-depth knowledge of our deen is reserved for those Allah guides to take the extra step. Your chance to become a student of Islamic knowledge is here, literally at your fingertips. Take a leap and join us today. Huda Academy, your gateway to authentic Islamic knowledge.
Welcome back. We are talking about Islamic finance and Musharaka. We are going to discuss a couple of questions at this stage to make sure that you have good understanding how this works in practice. So let's look at a simple case study. All right? You ready?
Yeah,
You have
ready.
your
Okay.
pen sharp. Let's look at this case. In this situation, we have two investors, two partners. They want to go into the business, and one of them invests. Party A invests, let's say, 40,000. Okay, they invest 40,000. This is their capital contribution, and Party B, they invest 60,000. Okay. What is the capital contribution ratio?
100.
So total is the 100. Okay, so 100. Okay, and their contribution into this partnership is always a ratio, percentage of total. Okay, always it's a ratio. Ratio means out of 100 in percentages. So this party invested 40%, yeah?
Yes.
While this other party invested 60%. Okay?
Yes.
Percent mean out of 100. So out of 100 is 2. Okay. Now let's say in the first scenario, these investors, we will have a first case where they gain $10,000 in the business. Okay? And in the second scenario, they will lose 10,000. Okay. Now one thing we said we can negotiate is which part? Loss or a profit? Profit. So if you are one investor and I'm other one, we say, okay, how about we share according to 30-70? Okay? So if we agree on that, we could agree on this, we could agree on any one. So this would be for the profit, and this would be for the loss ratio. So let's see, how would you divide then in the first case? How would you divide in the first case? There is a 10,000 profit. How would you divide? What would be here?
In the first case, number one would get
30.
he would get 7,000.
Hmm?
He would get the person who gave number one who gave 60,000. He will get 7,000.
Who agrees with that?
No.
Because at the beginning they have already agreed to divide 30 and 70 for the profit.
All right. So what does that mean? So how much here?
7,000.
7?
No, that is 3,000. Person A got 3,000.
So how do you judging? How do you looking? What are you
30
looking?
by
30 by 70.
All right.
by 1,000. By the percentage by the 1,000.
Yeah. So
10,000.
so how do we calculate? What is the calculation here?
The calculation will be on the profit.
Okay. So
And
what is the ratio, profit ratio I'm here
That is
working with?
30%.
30%.
30%.
30% will be 3,000.
So here it will be 30%.
So 3,000.
This is, we said this is A and this is B, yeah?
Yeah.
Is that how we said?
Yes.
Yes.
So it looks like the guy who gave less money is also working less.
Yes.
Yeah? So he's even maybe that's why he's contributing less. He's not very active guy. Yeah? So, all right. So how do you calculate how much is that going to go? How do you calculate percentages?
Because you look at the profit
So the 30%, yeah, out of 10,000.
out of 10,000.
How much is that?
3,000.
3,000. How we calculate that?
10,000
10,000 times
30%.
30%.
So 30%, 0.3, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So we would have this, what? 3,000.
3,000.
Okay, 3,000. How about this guy?
7,000.
7,000.
So 7,000. How would you calculate that? Just time 0.7, yeah?
0.7, yes.
So you will get 7,000. All right? How about in case of a loss?
In case of a
In
loss,
case of a loss,
30.
If they lost 10,000, one will lose 4,000, and the A will lose 4,000, and B will lose 6,000.
So we said in case of the loss, it must go by capital contribution. So that would be here
6,000,
4,000.
4,000
4,000.
and
6,000.
6,000. Yeah. Okay, makes sense.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Let's look at the example. How we can use this idea to finance a home through Islamic bank. How can Islamic bank use this concept to finance somebody who wants to purchase a home? Tell me, what do you think? Is this possible to adopt this to the home financing in a bank, this idea? Because this is a simple concept. You need to work out your way to finance the home. Yeah? Anything
If
comes to your mind?
the bank will join partners with you,
Bank will join like a partner with
or
you.
the partner with you.
Yeah, so for example, you get the home, okay? So maybe bank buys what? 80%?
80%.
80% of the house, and you buy
20%.
20%. So you live in the roof, yeah? So, by the way, does that mean when you buy jointly with someone, does that mean I owe the roof, you own the bedroom, and I own the toilet, and he owns the kitchen?
You own both of you own each and every section of the house.
So it is something that is undivided ownership. Okay, so here we don't say I owe first floor, you own second one. We both owe everything. It's sort of the ownership that you don't divide on sections.
Yes.
Okay, so just for a simplicity case, we put it like this. Now, if we want to rent out this house to someone, we want to put it on the market for a rent, and let's say we can get for this house rent. How much we get in Egypt?
What, 4,000 pounds?
3,000.
3,000. Okay. All right. 3,000 Egyptian pounds. Okay. If we can get that a month, how we share? So this is
the profit.
A and B. Okay. B will be always bank. Let's say. Okay. And this is how much they put B. So what will be the?
Well, in case of lose, it will be.
No, there is no lose. You are just renting.
For profit,
You're gonna get you're gonna get your rent.
So the bank will take 80% from
this
the
price.
profit.
So how do you calculate that?
3,000 times 0.8.
0.8.
All right. So times 0.8. How much is that?
2,400.
2,400.
2,400. So 2,400 will go to the bank. This is their part, their rent. And how much goes to you?
You
The
get
rest.
600.
600.
Okay, 600. So this is how you share the profit. This is a pure profit. There is no, if there is a loss, that's a different story. Of course, if you want to go now in the market and sell this house, and you sell it for, I don't know how much money, $100,000, you again share.
Yes.
So how do I now convert this into the mode of financing for a bank?
Musharaka.
So this is Musharaka. We are partners. We are doing this thing. How do I get this? What I want to do here. What is my goal as a customer here? I don't have enough money
To buy the house.
but I want to buy the house in 15 years. So that's the goal. Aim is
to buy the house.
I don't have a money, but I want to buy a house over the period of time. This is what we call financing. You're financing that. So how do we do that here?
Get loans.
Yeah?
By
So what do we need to do? In this case, who will live in the house?
Me, myself.
You live in the house. So party A in this case lives in the house. What does it mean here?
It means
We don't pay to ourselves rent, yeah?
yes.
Yes.
So this part is wiped off. Okay? So we live in the house where we don't owe 80% of it. So our rent that we pay here is for the part of the house that we don't owe
Okay.
from the bank. See? So we paying, I'm using your part, I'm paying you a rent. And that's fine, we can do like that. We can live like that. But what is my intention?
To own the house.
I want you to go from 80 to 0% over the time. So bank would start with what? With 80%. And then I say every year, month, or whatever, how we calculate it in our little computers, spreadsheets, I will buy maybe 1%, let's say, 1%. Usually it's much less than that, but let's say 1%. So every month, on top of this rent money, I'm going to give you, let's say, 6 or maybe another 1,000 for this 1%. So what's going to happen next year, next time?
It will be less.
Next time it will be 79.
Now bank owns 79% next payment. And I owe 21%.
21.
Okay. Now how much is rent going to be now?
The rent will be, now the rent will be, if it's like that.
So let's say every time I kind of can budget for 3,400. 3,400.
400.
Okay, in the first case, I paid 240 for the rent and 1,000 to buy back your own part. They call it equity, to buy equity from the bank. Get ownership, okay? So in the first case, now in the next time, that was when we were 80-20. So now we are 79-21. This part, and let's say I want to always put this much. So next time, this will be, I don't know, I don't have calculator, but let's say 300, whatever, you know. So something like this. It will be less because now you have only renting me 79% of the home. However, I have now more money to buy more. So now I might buy 1.1% with this.
Yes.
Until
because after I recalculate.
And it starts reducing and yours start increasing.
Exactly. So eventually what's going to happen in this calculation is bank will go from 80% to 70 to 50 up to the 0. At that point, I'm not in need anymore of paying rent. It's mine. At that point, I become full owner. 100% is mine.
Which was free interest.
There's no interest. How did the bank make money here?
By Musharaka with the partnership.
Partnership. And how exactly in that partnership did they make money? From what?
From the profit.
Benefiting
from the money that you were paying.
Leasing.
It was
leasing.
Leasing.
So from renting you. So while they were here, they were always having some equity. And this equity was paid as a rent. So from renting that house in that period, they made a profit. How is this different than normal home loan in a bank? Unfortunately, we call it normal, but there is nothing normal in it. In a conventional bank, how is this different from conventional bank?
In conventional bank, you lose out in the ending. You pay more. You end up owning the house, but you end up paying for like 2 houses instead of 1.
Okay, let's say if it is the same at the end. Because these calculations, sometimes the bank can make it to be similar in the kind of what they're paying. But fundamentally, what is the difference?
There is no loss and share.
Okay, so in a normal bank, what is it that they're making profit from? Did they sell you the house, buy the house,
No.
go any profit,
No.
loss, anything with you?
Debt, and they get
They are leasing you the money. So they are giving you money, and they're charging you rent on the money itself. How much money they have, that's how much interest they're charging you, like you are living in the money.
So
How you lease the house, they lease you the money.
could you say they are charging you on the time?
Of course, that is pure riba, pure charging you time on the money. That is that riba unlawful increase we said. So unlawful increase is in case I'm making money from the money. Here, I'm making money by charging you rent. Okay? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, makes sense.
So inshallah, that's it for today. And we are going to continue this discussion next time, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.